It's another Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is the Relationship Gumbo Podcast Live Edition. So when you come in, I need you to do two things: share and or invite. Make sure you do that with your friends and family, especially if you know somebody who may be single or is thinking about dating or has sworn dating off and they're afraid of it. They don't know what to do because it's different out here. We got you tonight. So I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you. Got some exciting things coming up. But what I need to do first is make sure that this is broadcasting everywhere it needs to go. So as you come in, say what's up, say hi. I love engagement. Bring your comments, bring your questions, and I got you. So give me about 30 seconds. I want to make sure everything is going everywhere it needs to go. Tonight we are broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. And we're going to talk a little bit about that on the other side of this. But give me about 30 seconds, and I'll be right back on the other side of that, and we can get going.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derek Jones about to break it down with the Relationship Gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derek Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship Gumbo, ayy.
All right, we are back. We're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to talk about some things tonight about being afraid to go back out there on the dating scene. I know that's the plight of a lot of people these days. So first and foremost, this is an audio podcast as well. So if you're new here, I am going to what I do is I will pause for 3 seconds. I will start the actual podcast. And then at the end of the podcast, I'll pause for another 3 seconds. So here's one bit of housekeeping / news. We are going to start the migration over to being YouTube only. So if you are, let me put the little thing up here. If you are watching on Facebook, we're going 100% YouTube within the next week. So make sure you go to YouTube and go to Relationship Gumbo Podcast and make sure you click that bell when you subscribe so that you can get the notifications. A lot of stuff going behind this, but this is a bigger and better move for us. We're going 100% YouTube, so make sure you do that tonight so that you don't forget. I'm going to give you some constant reminders because I would say maybe not next week, but the week after that, we're going to be 100% YouTube. So make sure you notate that and do that as soon as you get off of here. So on that note, let's get into it. I'm not going to waste your time tonight. Let's go. So here we go. Welcome to another edition of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. My name is Derek Jones, and I am your host. I'm a certified life and relationship coach, an engineer, a strategist, and a mental health advocate. And tonight, it's all about being afraid to date again. And I know there's a lot of people, especially those of us that are, of a certain age, it's a scary thing because it's different now, right? You might have had a bad breakup some years ago. You might have had, gotten divorced, and you looking out here and you probably haven't been on a date outside of who you were with for like a while. And now the climate is different, right? People moving a little bit different. So it's it can be a scary place looking at it from the outside looking in. However, there are success stories that are happening every day. And if it's something that you truly want, if you truly want to be in whatever the definition of whatever relationship you're trying to get in, because I know there's all these different types now, you can at least make attempts to work towards your goal of being in that. But you got to be careful. That's all. So we're going to talk about some of the things that may make you hesitant and how you can kind of, bob and weave and kind of work around those things, because what you don't want to do, what tends to happen with people who don't date for like years and years, because I actually, I saw somebody online, this woman said she hadn't been on a date in like 17 years because she's afraid of what's going to happen, right? Right? That's a lot, right? So a lot of times what we don't realize when we don't date for a long time, and people say, I'm going to take a break, but your break is like 3 years. It's just like a limb that you don't use. it's like it atrophies, right? You have to keep the muscle going and being built so that when you do decide to actually go and when you do meet that person, the skill set is still there. It's a skill set to go out and have discernment and have boundaries. When you don't utilize that, and I'm not saying go on a date every day, I'm saying don't wait 3 years to try to start, because then you think it's scary now. Wait 3 years, it's going to be 10 times scarier for you because you don't even know how to do it. It's just like me, right? I've been with the company that I work for 21 years. If I had to go out and do like an interview tomorrow, it's the skill set that I haven't used in 21 years. So at some point, I'm going to have to kind of, figure it out and go out on some interviews and do what I need to do to make sure that my skills are fresh. And the same thing applies with dating. So here's the first thing. And I wanted to actually give you guys a definition. Let me get this for you real quick. Fear, right? Here's the definition of fear. Fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. So sometimes the reason why you don't want to go out and get out on a dating scene is because you're afraid of what might happen. What are they going to do to me? I've already been hurt before, so it might happen again, and that's a scary place. Don't want to feel like that anymore. Don't ever want to feel like that again. And so you get yourself into a place where you feel like you want to control the outcome, right? And I don't know who you believe in or what you believe in, but it's impossible for you to control the outcome other than you taking yourself off the market forever. And if that is your goal, to just be single forever, I'm not talking about you tonight. I'm talking to the people who are contemplating going back out there, or maybe they've stuck their toe in the water and they like, oh man, they just did the same thing again. What's wrong? So here's the thing about fear, especially when you're talking about going out and dating and even just the dating aspect of going out and just enjoying and having fun and having your time. And that person may or may not be Mr. or Miss Right, but you're out there dating and you're having fun and it's not a bunch of negative stuff. Even if you was doing that, right? You putting yourself out there, so first of all, you can't get met if you're not outside. I mean, I know we have online dating, but you have to be present, right? So if you're not present, it's even more scarier, right? Because you don't even know what's going on out there. And like I said, let's go ahead and recap. The climate. It's people out here that don't even care about being in a relationship, and they moving in these situationships and taking over, guys. But like I said, there's success stories happening every day. So it's not for you to be afraid. It's about you knowing how to navigate the landscape that's out here now, right? So instead of being fearful of what someone will do to you, you have to have conviction in your discernment to know that you won't allow certain things to come any further than you allow. And that piece right there sounds easy. But for a lot of people, it's easier said than done, because we're talking about possible having emotions and feeling a way about somebody too soon. You ever heard these people say, I fall in love quick. I get attached to people quick. That's the danger zone. You got time to sit back and figure out whether it feels right or not. And when you start trusting yourself and knowing who you are and what you want, the dating experience becomes a little easier, because even though there's bad people having bad intentions, you get a real fine tune on what doesn't feel right. And that doesn't mean that you go out there and be mean and shut everybody out and I don't need nobody and all that. Just have discernment. And when you start having more discernment and more boundaries, then what you'll find is you'll discard more people, and the people that you actually let in they're a little more qualified than what you're used to, right? That's the holy grail, is to have better qualified candidates. Even if they don't get the job, at least your filtration system is better. That's what makes you scared. You're afraid that your boundaries won't hold up. You're afraid that if somebody does a certain thing or stays a little while longer and you spending time, that you won't know how to control yourself. Catch that. You don't trust yourself. It's not even about the evil people in the world. You don't trust yourself to take care of yourself. Right? No scenario is perfect. No situation is perfect. But if you go out there with a clear head and you use your head, and those emotions are kind of like secondary to that, then you can make smarter decisions. Because when you don't have any boundaries, you're going to get hurt every time. So if you really a person who's dealing with stuff and you healing now, imagine if you got hurt 3 more times back to back just because you didn't have boundaries. Who do you become after that? And think about it like this. After those 3 more hurts after that, the person that may be the one or the person that may be with you long term, what type of person are you giving to them? And is that fair? Life isn't fair. But you can make smarter decisions. You have that option. I guarantee you do. So, like I said, the climate out here, it's a little different than it was, a decade or 2 ago. But like I said, it's not about the climate. It's not about the bad people. Everybody's bad. All men are this and all women are that. It's not about them. It's about you. And like the stories I always tell on my show, I didn't find redemption after all of the crap that I did and after all of the dating I did. I didn't really feel like I could even date purposefully until I was able to say no. I was able to say no in the face of something that I probably would have never said no to in the past, because I come first, especially when you're dating. You will not be in my personal space if it doesn't feel right. You will not get taken out on a second date if the first one didn't go right just because you cute. I had to chop it early. And what that did was it did not allow me to get connected to something that didn't feel good. And then I can go out on another date and not be hurt from that experience. Whether that experience was just 1 date or 6 dates. You have the authority to know that it doesn't feel good. But the only way for you to know that it doesn't feel good is to know what you want. Because a lot of us go out here and we chase things based on something else other than knowing what we want. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you what I did, because I always like to put, these are all cautionary tales. When I had a breakup years ago, I didn't like the way it felt while I was in a relationship. And so when I got out of the relationship, I immediately went to find somebody who wasn't just the person that I was looking for what I wanted. The only requirement for this new person was that they were not the last person. As long as you didn't make me feel like this person, green light. And I just went head forward. And of course, I didn't look for all the other stuff. So eventually it explodes because you didn't go out there with the intention of finding someone that fits you. You hated that other person so much that you just went the total opposite direction. See what I'm saying? So now you have to know what you want. Once you do that, a lot of the stuff that you're dealing with is going to look real. It's not even going to look the same anymore. Your vision is different. And once you have that different vision, that different discernment, and the different boundaries, then the fear, even though it's there in the pit of your stomach, it's not in here. Because this controls everything if you allow it to. Your smarter decisions, your discernment, your boundaries, it all comes from here. So you can go out and date and have discernment to discard when it doesn't feel good. When it doesn't meet what you needed to meet, it's fun, we had a good time, cool, we could be friends, whatever. But when it comes time for you when you're going out to date with the purpose of being in a long-term relationship eventually, and I know, caveat, I know you new folks, generation whatever, well, I don't want to go out and date with intention because I don't want to be too serious up front. I just want to hang out and I get that. But there's a point, if you're relationship minded, that thought has to come, it has to be something that you take seriously. It has to be. Or else you'll never get there because you're not thinking about it. You don't just happen upon a magical long-term relationship without thinking about the growth and the steps that it takes to get there. It doesn't happen that way. Sometimes accidents work. But sometimes you could choose people based on what you know you need in your life. Instead of just someone to hang out at the bar every week talking about we just friends and it's 2 years later. And you're not allowed to see nobody else. So think about that. Think about poor decision making. Think about how many times you've dated the same person over and over again. Not literally the same person, but the same type of person. The outcomes are similar. And then that becomes your truth. So now everybody now gets put in that same box. And now you say things like, I ain't even trying to be out here with all these people out here hurting people and I'm tired of the games, so I'm taking myself off the market. And then you say that to the public, and I know you guys heard me say this if you logged into the show multiple times. When you put that energy out in the universe, it's like a mating call. Everybody ain't shit. The ain't shit people, they're going to hear that and they're going to come find you. Because you can't say everybody ain't shit. You can't say all men are this or all women are this, and then you go home and say, I just wish I could find somebody. The math doesn't add up. So if you wish you could find somebody, then it's really about gathering yourself together, figuring out what you need to do different, because whatever you was doing wasn't working. Because you can't say everybody that I've ever met, everybody on the planet is out to hurt me. Unless you've met everybody on the planet. That's a challenge. I'd like to find that person. So when you say these absolutes, there aren't any good men out here. I can't find anybody that's not about one thing and all of this. And then when you actually sit down with that person, you find out that they've only dated in their state or they've only dated in their city. So your experience is a very small sample size of all men. We would love to find our soulmate in our city. And like I've said before, how many times you gonna go to the same bar every weekend and think you're gonna find Mr. Right? It's a big state, it's a big country, it's a big world. You might have to come out your comfort zone to find a different type of person. Now, I'll give you an example about this, right? I talked to a woman that lives in an area where it's extremely blue collar. Factory workers, plants, and all this kind of stuff. And this is the town. But the complaint is, I want a white collar guy. I want a guy that fits a certain type of profile. But I want to find him here close to home. You see what I'm saying? you you're always going to not find what you want. And that's not to say the white collar guy is better, but we have different things that we're attracted to, whatever, right? So now what you do by proximity is you're going to date what's around you, and it's never really going to be what you want. And so now, once again, you paint the narrative in your head that there aren't any good men out here. There's nobody out here. That's a big statement. There's no one out here for me because everybody that I've met treated me like this. Listen to the words I'm using. Everybody that I've met. That's your small sample size. Well, me and all my friends, we had the same, y'all live in the same town. So when you're talking about being afraid to date, a lot of times that fear is based on anecdotal evidence. It's just your one experience. You got to think, you got to look at the bigger picture, especially now we have the internet. You can meet somebody an hour away or 2 hours away. And I'm not saying online date because I know people are like, online dating, it's all crazy people. You might be one of those crazy people if you think you're going to sit at home and somebody going to knock on your door one day. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't. And so you got to think about these things when you're talking about, I don't know if I want to date because something might happen. If you are a human being on the planet Earth, something might happen. It's something that happens every second of every day. Something might happen. Something negative might happen. Something positive might happen. That's the gamble that we take every day on this earth. Right? And the same applies to relationships. And the way that you protect whatever yourself is from being, from what you fear is to just move smarter. And sometimes you don't have the answers. Sometimes you don't know what the smarter move is because all you know is what you know. You don't have anybody to talk to about it and figure out where the flaws are. And sometimes you may need to go talk to somebody like a therapist or a coach or somebody that can take those puzzle pieces and say, okay, this is where you've been. This is what you want. This is your goal. Well, the way you're moving right now, it's not going to really get you there. The answer may be you need to move. The answer may be you may need to go to a different bar, than the one where everybody knows your name. You got to think and know that your experience is just your experience. It's just your small little sample size of life. And that's where the fear comes from. It's the fear of being uncomfortable enough to go after what you're looking for, to be present for what you're looking for. Or you could sit at home for the next 30 or 40 years and say, well, ain't nobody here for me. Everybody ain't shit. You ever heard these people, all these men, they're in jail or they're gay, so there's like 3 of them left on the planet, and I can't pick from those 3, so I'm going to just be single forever. You're not uncomfortable enough. The same could be said about running a business. Why is nobody buying my stuff? Because you haven't been in front of enough people. If you have an amazing product and nobody's purchasing it, not one, then maybe it's how you're advertising yourself. Maybe you haven't put enough eyes on your product, enough for people to see it, right? And what we talk about in business is your friends and your family and the people that you know the best, i.e. your local area, may not support you more than a stranger will. So you're going to have to go outside of your comfort and meet some strangers. It's the boogeyman. It's not comfortable, but that may be where your redemption lies. So again, you armor yourself with boundaries and discernment and the knowledge, the physical and the mental knowledge of the pain that you've experienced before. You know what that feels like. But it's also not fair to the new person for you to lead with that pain. Know what it feels like. You'll never forget what that pain feels like. And sometimes there'll be triggers that some word that the new person says or some mannerism they have. You have to be intelligent enough about your emotions to know that they have not committed the same crime. And you have to allow that person to show you who they are. Because most of the time, there's some good liars and good players and predators out here. Most of the time, if you allow people to just be and do what they do, you'll start to see, because now you have these new eyes and the new vision, right? A lot of that stuff, you ask the right question, you move the right way, you allow them to do things to let you see how they move in different environments, you'll see everything you need. In most cases, it's very few people out here that have been through situations or on a bunch of dates with someone, and then after it goes bad, when you actually go back and peel back all of the pieces, most people will say, aha, this is where it changed. And I felt it and I knew it, but I still kept going. There's people out here that need second and third chances, but you can't say that you didn't feel the thing that didn't feel good. So you have mechanisms out here that allow you to vet people. You have cell phones, you have FaceTime. You can vet someone initially before you even go out. And then there's these people that I don't want to do that. Let's just see each other. Let's go now. That's cool. But if you know you're not in that space to just jump like that, take some time to have those conversations so that you can understand who you're dealing with. It's these little things, little tweaks. That's what I do best. I find the little things. That's what I'm trained to do. I'm a problem solver. So I want you guys to think about that, especially if you've been contemplating going back out there. It's not about the boogie monster. It's about being prepared just in case the boogie monster shows up to throw him in the trash. You can do it. And I have some things coming up that's going to help you guys with that. So I'm going to start wrapping this up. I want you guys to really think about what I said. Go back, watch the replay, especially if you're sitting at home and you're like, I don't even want to deal with this. Look at what my friends are going through. The horror stories that I'm hearing about these dates. Anecdotal evidence. I need for you to create your own path. Create your own path. Not somebody else's story. Your own path. Oh, so-and-so went on this dating app and they met a horrible person, so I'm not even going to go on online dating because of that. Anecdotal evidence. Your boy been married for going on 11 years online. So it's not impossible. And you guys really need to think about that when you're out here trying to figure out what you're afraid of and what you're not afraid of. Sometimes you got to jump in the pool. So here's what I want you to do. I'm wrapping this up, but I need for you guys to go to relationshipgumbo.info. I need you to check it out. It's the new. It's all cleaned up. Everything it's a little different now when you go there. A little cleaner, a little nicer, a little easier, right? I'm all about ease of use. Go to the contact page and click on those social media icons and follow me on all that stuff, especially YouTube and Instagram. Facebook, the podcast is going away on Facebook and we're going YouTube only within the next week or so. So please go and subscribe to YouTube and go to Relationship Gumbo Podcast on YouTube and make sure you go there so you can catch it live. And even if you don't catch it live, you'll be able to go to YouTube and catch some of the past episodes. So on that note, I want you guys to have an amazing day, amazing weekend, amazing life. Be safe out there. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, hanging out with your boy. Once again, we'll be back next week, same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And please, 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 I'm going to tell you one more time. Subscribe, follow, like, all that good stuff. Share. Because in the next week or two, you're going to start to see a lot of stuff coming out. I'll give you a little heads up. Online courses, group coaching, all these things where a lot of times when you see coaches online or you see the little snippets on Instagram and all this other kind of stuff, you get a little bit, but you don't get the how. You don't get the meat of how you start the process of working towards your goal. I got you. I have so much stuff coming. I've been working in the background, and I want you guys to really come and get stuff delivered to you in a way that you can digest. It's not going to be so overly, intensive that you can't get it. I want you to get it, and I want you to grow. So if you have any comments or anything that you'd like to see as far as an online course or show or anything like that, please inbox me. And we're gonna get it there, because there's no coaching without people who actually engage in volunteer information so I can give you what you need. If that means I gotta bring a guest on to talk about a topic that you're curious about, let's go. So on that note, podcast is over, and I want you guys, like I said, be safe out there. Please be safe. Take care of the little kitties and all this other kind of stuff. I know some of this stuff is still crazy after a year. But there's hope and there's redemption on the other side of it if you're going through some things. So I'll talk to you guys next week. Have a great day. All right, guys. I will see you guys next week. Like I said, stay tuned. Some new stuff is coming up. Your boy is grinding in the background as usual, and it's all for you. So I appreciate you. Come back next week. We're going to have another amazing show, and I will see you soon.